cover three teams in town, not just the Steelers. And let's just say it's been a while since I've covered anything as worthwhile as the game that's coming up tomorrow in Baltimore. Good afternoon to you. Good Friday afternoon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is the new Double Shot Show. It comes your way every weekday afternoon. And this one in particular is looking forward to something that has at least the possibility of being special. And it's kind of been a while. You know, there's something about this franchise, this football franchise, that gets lauded on a regular basis for its consistency, for its competitiveness, always contending. Even when you thought they were out of it, they weren't going to be. This year, they weren't even supposed to be in the top three of the AFC North. The top three. This isn't me wagging a finger at any particular, people who get paid to make predictions or whatever. This was the gambling community. This was the way the money was put down on this. This is you. This is everybody. The Steelers were supposed to be a last place team in this division. As of tomorrow, they can be officially, formally, finally, the first place team in this division. One that I think most people would agree would be the most, it's a good word for this, the most combative division in the NFL. Is that a fair term? The AFC North might not be the best division. You'll hear a lot, it's the best division, best division. I think what people mean when they actually say that is that, the Browns have 3 wins, and 2 of those 3 wins are against the Steelers and the Ravens, the top 2 teams. And no one considers those games an upset when they occur. The same thing goes for when Joe Burrow and the Bengals beat anybody in this division. It's just how it goes. For the Steelers to sit atop this perch, if that were to happen tomorrow, that's an achievement. That's a real live thing. It's not a Mike Tomlin finishes a game over 500. It's not. This has been one of the weirdest things that's come up this season. The whole, just win one playoff game. That would be progress. Let's just win one playoff game. What the heck is that? Who puts up a banner for let's just win one playoff game? Win the division. Have shirts printed. Have caps printed. Have them ready outside the locker room at M&T Bank Stadium. Have them ready to rip those boxes open and pass them all around those stalls. That's a real thing. It's been a while. It's been a while for any of our 3 teams. Penguins had the 2 Stanley Cups in 2016 and 2017. Didn't go so well in 2018, and they haven't done anything in almost exactly the same span that the Steelers haven't done anything. They haven't had any playoff success, playoff series victories since the Steelers had their most recent playoff victory. Don't get me started on the baseball team. Get this done. Get this done. It's not like what happened in Philadelphia where you find out that, I don't even remember who the teams were. It was Indianapolis was playing somebody, and because it was Denver, and because this team won, I don't even remember who won that game, but somebody won, and then the Steelers were told that they clinched a playoff berth, and they're like, that was the reaction around the room. No, this isn't that. This is the best possible way, the best possible place to clinch something. It's Baltimore, man. Get it done. Get it done. When we come back, we'll be joined by Chris Halleck.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Joined now by Chris Halleck, as promised. There's no way around talking about Lamar Jackson. He's such just a visible and palpable and massive presence when he's on the football field. When he's out there, it feels like the entire game is about him. And that's really the story of Lamar's career, except against one opponent. And you keep thinking, this is the game. One of these days, he's not going to stink against the Steelers. One of these days, he's going to go out there and look the same way against the Steelers as he does against the other 30 franchises in the league. Could this be it? Could this be the one, or do the Steelers just have him solved?
I don't want to ever say with a player of Lamar's talent level.
You love Lamar. You love Lamar. I know where you are with this. That's why I'm pushing you here.
Yeah, I mean, he's unlike any quarterback in the league, and I think he's a much better passer than people give him credit for, especially out of the pocket. Some people don't; they want to only look at what he was doing at the beginning of his career and say, "Well, he's not a pocket passer." No, he's actually a really, really good pocket passer. The one variable that's different here, and I don't think it really makes all that much of a difference, but maybe it could, is that this is the first time Lamar Jackson is playing the Steelers at M&T Bank Stadium with fans there. Remember the last time they played there when Lamar played, it was the COVID year. And so it's a different situation. They're fighting for the division. This is a pressure game. Now, this is the time, and this is the big critique on Lamar, in which he doesn't come through. He hasn't come through in the playoffs yet. He has yet to deliver them to a Super Bowl, despite being a 2-time MVP. So this would be the game that he needs to come through and give the Ravens a fighting chance, because obviously if they lose, the Steelers clinch the division. So this is a game for Lamar's legacy that, even though it's a regular season game, it's a pretty big one.
That's it. I'll be honest. I hadn't thought of that. I thinking about this, you end up, because the Steelers are the team you and I cover. You think about these sorts of things from the Pittsburgh perspective. From the Baltimore perspective, this is enormous just for him. This is enormous for his legacy. Not that, it's going to get wiped away if he loses or anything ridiculous like that. He's a legitimately great football player. He's a Hall of Famer. When you win MVPs like that, you're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And the Ravens winning or not winning a Super Bowl is obviously more of a team reflection than anything else. Otherwise, Dan Marino would be just a guy.
Right.
This is a setting, though, in which Lamar is going to be operating with infinitely more pressure than anybody on the Pittsburgh side. Certainly his counterpart, Russell Wilson's been there, done that. For Russ, this is just fun. And you can kind of see that in his demeanor. Russ is like, oh, cool. I get to be part of this Pittsburgh-Baltimore thing. This is neat, man. And that's just the Russ vibe anyway, right?
Yeah.
But for Lamar, you mentioned, all right, he's going to be playing in front of fans at M&T Bank Stadium and all that other stuff. But that's pressure. Now, you can see in his personality on a regular basis that he's not somebody who gets rattled, to say the least, but pressure is pressure. And now you factor in the uncertain status of his wide receivers, with how banged up they are and concussed and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even more on him. But the Steelers, they have to be in his head on top of all the rest of this, don't they?
I think it's a combination of, Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin have obviously put together a game plan that has done better against Lamar Jackson than anybody else has done. So the Steelers in general, I do think, are in Lamar Jackson's head to a certain extent. But I do think that Lamar, he's one of those quarterbacks in which he is playing his absolute best when he doesn't feel like he has to be Superman every single play, because he has the ability to be Superman. And I think one thing that you need to do with those type of players every now and then is sometimes you don't have to be turning in the greatest play you've ever turned in every single play, because sometimes those great plays just happen. Like the one against the Bengals, in which the snap is low, it's fumbled, he has to pick it up, and then 6 seconds later, he still has the ball and throws a touchdown pass.
Right.
It just coalesces. Instead of letting those plays happen and develop, he's trying to force great things to happen, and that's when he gets in trouble. And the Steelers do a great job of kind of forcing him into those plays. And the one thing that I think, especially in a game like this, that's going to be physical, is that I'm really curious to see how much Lamar runs, because he did not do it a lot against the Steelers. He only ran the ball 4 times technically, and one of those was a kneel down. So really 3 carries. And on those 3 carries, he gained 47 yards. So are they going to say, Lamar, we know we don't want you to run too much because we need you. But at the same time, you can gash this defense, especially if they go all in to defend Derrick Henry the way they did last time.
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know what Chris means when he says that they forced him into doing stuff here, just to step back a little bit and to share something about the Steelers' blueprint, because we're not giving up any secrets here. They've put this on film 100 times. The rest of the league should be following it at this point, but they don't. And the reasons, plural, that they don't is, one, not everybody has the edge rushers that the Steelers do. They're pivotal to this because they come in from the sides and they keep Lamar from going left or right the way he likes to do, whether that's to throw the ball or even just to run around edge. The Steelers have those guys. Two, they have the speed to make that count, don't they?
Yes, they do, especially on the second and third level. I asked Terrell Austin about it whenever coordinators spoke this week, and he said, this is the fastest defense I've coached here. And you look at the linebackers, like Landon Roberts might be the slowest one of them all, and I don't think anybody would really call
Landon's
him
not slow. Yeah.
Right. Patrick Queen is lightning fast. Peyton Wilson, in terms of pure foot speed, is even faster.
He's insane.
Minka Fitzpatrick is fast. Dante Jackson is fast. Joey Porter Jr., not the fastest guy, but he's definitely not slow. You're talking about Joey Porter Jr. probably being one of the slowest guys on the back end. You're pretty fast in those second and third levels. And that's one of the reasons why the one thing that I noticed is when they ran those read options, they didn't even think about keeping that edge contained. They were all about bottling up Derrick Henry because they trusted that speed on the back end to limit Lamar. Now, one run they did not. They completely whiffed. But
the early Henry 20-yarder,
yeah. But a couple of those other Lamar runs, like one was a 7-yard gain. I think if you can keep Lamar to 6 yards here, 7 yards there, because he can't run 15 times. You don't want to run him that much. So keep him bottled up.
And the beautiful thing about the way the Steelers keep Lamar bottled up is that as long as they're in the neighborhood, they also bottle up the running back. You just have to make sure this is where the defensive front is concerned. This is where Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, and the guys who are up front have to make sure, if they're coming at me from the sides, where am I going? This way. Well, maybe not.
And that's one of the I'm glad you brought the defensive lineman, because that allows those linebackers to be able to move and read and react, because a lot of those runs, Cam Hayward taking on 2 guys, that's normal. It's like Keanu Benton taking on 2 guys and making 2 guys stay on him. That's what you want to see from defensive linemen in a game like this, because that will allow Patrick Queen and Landon Roberts and Peyton Wilson, whoever's out there, to have more freedom to move and read and react and use their speed to their advantage instead of having to get off a block. When the defensive lineman can eat up blocks like that, it frees up so many different things. And so it's a big challenge up front too.
When we come back, a special holiday edition of the J1Q.
Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
Time now for J1Q, and if it's Friday, it must be...
The PEF is here to spread some holiday cheer. DK, everyone at DK Pittsburgh Sports, and all the viewers watching, have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a Kickin' Kwanzaa, and anything and everything in between. Now, DK, my J1Q, I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm excited. It's Raisins Week. I'm going to keep it positive this time around. What is your favorite memory covering the Steelers in Baltimore?
Woo, Pef's bringing it. Anytime you're challenging my memory here, I've covered, it feels like every game the Steelers have ever played in Baltimore. And it's a weird scene. I've described this for people before, but the visiting locker room at M&T Bank Stadium is even worse than most of the visiting locker rooms in that they take this, let's divide the room up so they can't see each other trick to an extreme. There's a giant bank of stalls in the middle of this tiny room. You can barely budge in the place. And if you're on one side of the stalls, you can't see the guys on the other side. So every scene after every win is literal bedlam. You're tripping over equipment bags. Mike Tomlin's going through there telling everybody, let's go, bus in 20 minutes, bus in 25 minutes. And so-and-so is moving here and moving there, and we're all bumping into each other. And then, of course, there's us obnoxious types walking around with, cameras and microphones and everything, and we're bumping into stuff, and we're trying not to step on somebody's equipment. And I'm going to take you, the Pef, all the way back to, last year, okay? Because there were a couple of things I saw in there that I really, really liked. And I'm going to share them both with you. One was, this one involves two guys that are not going to be partaking in this game. Mason Rudolph, after his win in that ridiculously cold game, some of the worst weather, I still can't believe they played that game in those conditions. It was so cold and it was snowy and icy. You could barely move on the field. And the Steelers did exactly what was necessary to win that one. And part of what was necessary was that they had spoken with George Pickens all week long. They told him, George, you're not getting the football. We're just going to tell you in advance. We don't want you to get disappointed. We don't want you, for whatever reaction you're going to have it now. Don't have it on the field. Don't have it in the locker room. Because we need you to block, George. Because we believe in you as a blocker. We believe that if we get X number of rushing yards, we're going to pull this off. Okay, so George goes out there. Sure enough, I believe he had one touch on the football, one target. It was early in the second half. Meant nothing other than the fact that he would touch the football. Beyond that, just blocked, and did great, by the way. And the Steelers, of course, win the game. And Mason comes walking. This was, I would say in front of me, but everything's kind of in front of you in that tight space. Walks in front of me. And goes around me and right to George, who was to my left, and says, I love you, man. I love you. I can't tell you how much I respect what you did for us today. And George got really emotional. That's the environment that happens when these two teams meet. Weird stuff like that happens. Now, second one, because I'm not going to let you go with just that one. Second one. Place is pretty much cleared out, which is saying something. And Broderick Jones is sitting over at his stall. And Brod is, I don't know how to put this to you other than the fact that I think that he was still playing. Like, I think in his head, he was still out there trying to block people. And he was almost shaking. That's how wound up he was. And I kind of got the sense for what was happening. I wasn't sure. But I've had this conversation with other players in the past, had it once with Le'Veon Bell, memorably. And I said to Brod the same thing that I said to Lev and to these other guys. I said, that's AFC North. That's what that's like. And he said, that was Baltimore. That was really cool. That was really cool. So enjoy it, my friends. Enjoy it. The Pef. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody checking out the new Double Shot Show. Let's have some fun this weekend.